Alright guys, so today we're going to make a clam chowder. Our ingredients for today are going to be bacon, garlic, celery, yellow onion, I have a bay leaf, a sprig of thyme, some parsley, we have some fresh sea clams, a blonde roux, some small diced potatoes, heavy whipping cream, clam juice, fish stock, Tabasco, and white wine. Okay, I have my pot heating up. The soup chowder comes from the word chowdere, which means cauldron. Chowders have been very, very famous in the northeast of the United States. There's many different kinds of them, but the basic idea behind a chowder is a soup that is thickened by potatoes. Nowadays we make them a little bit differently. Yes, we use a roux to thicken them up, so a little bit of flour and butter, and it'll have a little different consistency, but you can also make a chowder very traditional by just cutting potatoes very small and then cutting potatoes in a larger level and letting those potatoes break apart. Okay, to start, I'm going to grab a little bit of oil and put it in the pan, and then we're going to take some bacon and we're going to start rendering that guy. Alright, depending on the bacon that you use, it's going to decide if you're going to need oil or not. We make this bacon here in house, so the fat content is a little bit less. So when you're making this at home, go ahead and use a little bit of oil for your pan. Okay, we're going to render the bacon until the fat is translucent and it's about halfway cooked. Okay, and then we're going to introduce other ingredients in here. Traditionally, salt pork will be used for this recipe, but we like the amount of smoke that this bacon brings to the chowder. All right, we're looking good here. Our next step will be to add our onions and our celery to our pot. We're going to cook this for about 3 minutes, and we want to see the onions turning translucent but not brown. Okay, at this point, season with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. We're going to season in every single layer of the soup, so by the time that we finish, our soup should be perfectly seasoned. Alright, at this point my onions are turning translucent, and I'm going to add my garlic. You can mince your garlic. I like it sliced because it's going to be in a wet cooking method and it'll get soft. But if you don't like bigger pieces of garlic, feel free to mince it. Just know that will require you to move the soup more often. This is going to take about a minute here to cook, and you'll know that the garlic is ready because you'll be able to smell it. Alright, our garlic is smelling pretty good right now. And I'm going to take some wine. And about, I think 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces is enough. And the idea is to deglaze your pot. So all the brown stuff in the bottom of your pot that the bacon left there, we want to pick all that up. That's all good flavor. Alright, while that is happening, if you already made your roux at home, which you should have, it's going to be a little hard. So just take about 2 ounces off of it and we're gonna have it ready for when we add the liquid into the pan. Alright, there we go. Alright, our wine has almost evaporated. I can hear it that it's starting to sizzle again, which means that it's all set or almost dry. And that tells us that we can turn this to high and add our clam juice and our fish stock. Alright, so our liquid came to a boil, and I'm going to add my aromatics. So I have my bay leaf, my parsley stem, and my front of thyme. And I'm going to leave them whole and then pull them out at the end of the cooking of the soup. Okay. Once this is at a rolling boil, we can start adding our roux. And I like having kind of smaller pieces like so. And I put them in, and I whisk, and I let them roux dissolve. And I don't add an additional one until the roux has completely dissolved. And this is how we're going to thicken this soup fairly quickly here. And you want it, you want chowder to have some texture, but you don't want it so it's too thick. You'll notice that fairly quickly it'll come to become thick, and you should always let it be for a minute before you add more. And then we can turn this down and let it cook. Alright, so my soup has thickened instantly, and right now what I'm going to do is add my potatoes in here. And it's okay if a little bit of water goes in there. You should try to not put too much water, but a little bit of water is good. And then I'm going to add my heavy whipping cream. Water. There we go. Whisk it a little bit. And now we should let this simmer for about 15 minutes or so until the potatoes are cooked. That is going to be your indicator that your soup has been pretty much completed. We haven't added the clams yet. We will add them at the very end when we season. And the idea is that if we put the clams in there right now, they'll get too tough. Clams have a very fast cooking time. So what we're going to do is let this chowder develop some flavor. And then once it's ready, we'll season it, we'll add the clams, and we'll call it good. Okay guys, so we've been simmering for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the size that you cut the potatoes, depending on the time that it's gonna take, okay? When you're doing this simmering time, make sure that you're medium, low. You might have to play with the heat a little bit. The goal is to make sure that you're stirring it every couple of minutes so the roux is not sticking to the bottom of your pot and you don't burn your soup, okay? You should have some nice happy bubbles in there. It shouldn't be too furious, like it shouldn't be boiling, it should just be simmering, okay? At this point, we can add our clams. I already checked that a potato was cooked. We're gonna mix our clams up. I always add the clams before I do my final seasoning. The idea is that the clams are very salty, so we want to make sure that if we have enough salt that we don't add any more. Okay, I'm going to take the Tabasco, put about 3 dashes in there, maybe 4 dashes. It all depends how much you like it. It's not there for spiciness. You don't want to taste something spicy. The idea is that the hot sauce is a vinegar base, and this is a very rich soup. So we want to make sure that we balance flavors out. Okay. Now I can turn this to low. We're going to give it another taste and adjust our seasoning. Needs a little tiny bit of salt. We're going to go salt. And then we're going to go pepper. And I like a bit of black pepper on my chowder, so I'm going to go a little bit more like that. I'm going to mix it one more time. And the goal is that your soup is nice and velvety, and you can actually pour it, and it's not like too gloppy, right? Like, we don't want it to be like oatmeal. We want it to be nice to still run, but to coat the back of your spoon. That. I have a bowl right here, and when you're serving it, make sure that you take your thyme sprig and your bay leaf out of there. And anytime that you're going to ladle something, make sure that you scrape the ladle so you don't drip. Here we go. A little tiny bit more. That's it, guys. New England clam chowder.